Silence is golden, but to a narcissist, silence is lethal. Not your accusations, not your rebellion, but that calm, grounded, resolute silence from an empath who is done, truly done, is what destroys them from the inside out. When you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop showing pain, the narcissist doesn't know where to strike. No feedback, no emotional supply, their fragile ego begins to unravel. Your silence becomes a blind spot they can't penetrate. And for someone who survives off control, off attention, off domination, that silence is a nightmare. In this video, you'll discover 8 powerful reasons why your silence is the strongest threat to a narcissist. From shattering their manipulation tactics, to disrupting their psychological control mechanisms, to forcing them to confront their own inner emptiness. Each reason is like a dagger to their illusion of power. If you're in the process of leaving a toxic relationship, or simply trying to understand why your absence triggers such chaos, this is the video you need to see. Subscribe now, hit the notification bell and watch till the end, because your silence isn't retreat, it's the final victory. Reason 1. Silence destroys the narcissist's manipulation map. A narcissist doesn't love you. They study you. They observe how you react, test your emotional limits, and memorize every vulnerable detail you've ever revealed. Why? To build a precise psychological map, a blueprint for controlling you in the most effective way possible. They know when to be charming and when to withdraw. They know exactly when to drop a half-hearted apology just as you're about to leave. They know how to trigger guilt, how to spark hope, and how to keep you second-guessing. But for all of that to work, they need your feedback. They need your emotional responses to keep updating the map. But when you go silent, truly silent, you burn that entire control system to the ground. They can't read you anymore. No more emotional cues to exploit. No more anger to provoke. No more hurt to suppress. Silence strips them of their primary weapon, predictability, and without being able to predict you, they can't control you. Without control, they descend into internal chaos, because their entire identity is built on reflection. A narcissist doesn't have a solid self. They have a shifting mask, always molded by others' reactions. And when you stop reacting, the mask falls off. They're left face to face with their own emptiness, something they can't tolerate. This doesn't just confuse them, it threatens them. Because control is their oxygen. When they can no longer manipulate you, they start to lose their constructed sense of power. They panic, they spiral, they may lash out. So if you've ever questioned whether your silence is too cruel, it's not. It's the most powerful thing you've ever done, because in that silence, you're not just protecting yourself, you're dismantling the entire manipulation machine that kept you trapped. Reason 2. Silence traps the narcissist in their own delusion. A narcissist lives in a fabricated world where they are the center, the victim, and the hero of every story. They construct a fantasy reality where everything wrong is your fault, every emotional storm is something you triggered, and every action they take is justified. But this entire illusion only survives as long as someone else feeds it. When you go silent, you stop fueling that fantasy. You don't argue, so there's no enemy to fight. You don't beg, so they can't pretend to be the savior. You don't react, so they can't play the victim. And when there's no role left to perform, the narcissist starts to drift inside their own lies. Your silence isn't just withdrawal, it's a mirror. They are forced to look at reality without anyone else acting in their script. And what they see is not a powerful narcissist, but a person desperately dependent on external validation, empty behind the mask and terrified without someone reflecting back their imagined greatness. They begin having one-sided conversations in their head. They speculate, spiral, and drown in questions like, why is she so quiet? What is she thinking? Has she found someone better? Am I no longer valuable? And these questions don't lead to introspection. They shatter the narcissist's ego, which can't survive without constant reinforcement. To you, silence is peace. But to the narcissist, it's a maze with no exit. They can't manipulate you, can't read you, can't control the narrative, and traps them not in your silence, but in the lies they've built for themselves. No one left to blame, no one left to guilt. They're left alone with themselves, and that's their worst fear. Reason 3. Silence cuts off the narcissist's emotional supply, their lifeline. A narcissist doesn't live on love, they live on reaction. As they feed off your anger to feel powerful, they feed off your tears to feel important. They need your explanations, your pleas, your emotional outbursts to confirm they're still the center of your world. Your emotions are their supply. Whether it's positive or negative doesn't matter. As long as you react, they feel alive. And if there's one thing they can't tolerate, it's the moment you stop reacting. Your silence severs the emotional fuel they used to consume like a drug. No more arguments, no more guilt trips, no more desperate explanations. It's like cutting off a junkie from their fix, and it throws them into psychological withdrawal. Without supply, the narcissist begins to implode. Their fragile ego, already built on illusion, starts to collapse without being constantly fed by external emotional energy. They grow anxious, irritable, even desperate. They may try to reel you back in through pity, threats, promises, or cruel words, but if you remain silent, you leave them with nothing to latch onto. They'll try anything to stir emotion in you, not because they need your love, but because they need your reaction. But when you don't take the bait, when you stay silent and unshaken, what you're really saying is, you're no longer the center of my emotional universe. And for a narcissist, that's not just rejection, it's ego death, because their identity relies entirely on being seen, being felt, being significant, and without your emotional supply, they cease to exist in the only way they've ever known how. Reason 4. Silence forces the narcissist to confront themselves. A narcissist spends their entire life running from one thing, themselves. They construct a false self, exaggerated, perfect, untouchable, to mask an inner core filled with shame, emptiness, and unhealed wounds. They rely on others to act as mirrors, reflecting back their illusion. Every reaction you give, every compliment, every emotional outburst, every tear, is proof that their false self still exists. But when you go silent, that mirror disappears. There's no one left to play the part, no one to affirm that they're special, deserving, or in control. Suddenly they have no one left to hide behind. They're forced to face who they truly are, and that terrifies them. Silence doesn't just disrupt their control, it opens up a vast, unbearable void inside them. In that space there's no game to play, no script to follow, just their real self exposed. All the lies, the pain, the emptiness. And here's the truth. Narcissists aren't equipped to face themselves. They don't know how to reflect. They don't know how to heal. All they've ever known is blame, deflection, and avoidance. That's why your silence is so powerful. It places them in front of the mirror of truth, with no way to look away. And in that mirror, there's no perfection, no control, no ideal of, any abandonment fears, buried shame, and a collapsing identity. That's when the truth becomes undeniable. They're not the victim, they're the source of the chaos. And without you to buffer it, they're finally forced to witness the damage and realize it came from within. Reason 5. Silence disarms the narcissist's hoovering tactics. Hoovering, a term used to describe the narcissist's attempt to suck you back in after you've left. It might come as a last-minute apology, a nostalgic message, a sudden text at midnight, or a classic line like, "I've changed." But make no mistake, it's not because they miss you, it's because they need to regain control. The hoover tactic operates on a simple principle. As long as you respond, they still have power. All it takes is one reply, one question, one flicker of emotion, even anger, and they can restart the entire cycle of manipulation. But when you go completely silent, no replies, no explanations, no reactions, you render their entire strategy useless. A narcissist can't talk to air. With no feedback, they don't know where to strike or which tactic will work. And that throws them into a spiral of frustration, desperation, and confusion. You have to understand this. Narcissists don't believe in endings. They don't leave, they put you on pause. They assume you'll still be there, just waiting for the right bait. But when your silence lasts too long, too consistently, they're forced to realize you're no longer under their control. And at that moment, the power structure they thought they had over you crumbles. Silence is not just a lack of communication. It's the most powerful message you'll ever send. I am no longer your supply. I am no longer your game. I am done. Reason 6. Silence proves you've shifted the focus from them to yourself. A narcissist wants you perpetually in their orbit. They don't need you to be happy. They need you to be obsessed with them. They need you thinking about them, reacting to them, because that confirms to them that they still matter, still hold power, still exist in your world. But when you go silent, truly silent, no explanations, no attempts to fix, no curiosity about their life, you do something incredibly powerful. You shift the focus back to yourself. Your silence is a declaration. My energy no longer flows to you, it's returned to me. And that, to a narcissist, is a deep insult. It says they are no longer the center of your emotional universe. You're no longer acting out of hurt, you're acting out of awareness. You're no longer compelled to rescue someone, you're rescuing yourself. You're tending to the wounds they left behind. You're rebuilding the parts of yourself their manipulation shattered, and that terrifies a narcissist more than any criticism, as for the first time, you're not looking at them, you're looking at yourself. They are no longer the destination, they are no longer the engine, they are no longer the why in your story. You've reclaimed the driver's seat of your life, and to someone who lives by making you dependent, that isn't just a loss, it's a collapse. Reason 7. Silence undermines the narcissist's illusion of power. A narcissist doesn't truly possess power. They're simply skilled at creating the illusion that they do. They're not actually strong. They just know how to manipulate in a way that makes them look invincible. Their control doesn't exist because they enforce it. It exists because you respond to it. Your reactions are the proof of their influence. Your emotions make them feel important, but when you go silent, that entire manufactured structure begins to crumble. No anger to make them feel intimidating, no tears to feed their sense of power, no justifications to make them feel wanted. So what happens when you stop playing? They realize the power they had was never real. It was a system built on emotional manipulation. Your silence is like pulling the plug on their stage. The lights go out, the audience leaves. The main character, the narcissist, stands alone in the dark. No applause, no spotlight, no one left to control. They always believed you stayed because they were worthy. But when you leave without a word, without apology, without the need to close the chapter, the illusion collapses. They realize they had no power except what you once gave them, and now you've taken it back. No more performance, no more control. Just the truth that real power doesn't come from breaking others, but from walking away in silence with your self-respect intact. Reason 8. Silence is the clearest sign that you've escaped the abuse cycle. When you're still trapped in the narcissistic abuse cycle, everything repeats. Love, pain, forgiveness, hope, and pain again. Each loop is like an emotional addiction, keeping you torn between wanting to leave and not being able to let go. You hope the next time will be different. You believe that if you're better, more patient, more understanding, they'll change. But they don't, because it's not a mistake. It's a system. The narcissist thrives inside that cycle as the controller, and you, the empath, often play the role of fixer. But silence, true, firm, and uncompromising silence, is the undeniable signal that you're not in that cycle anymore. No more need for closure, no more need to be understood, no more apologies, explanations, or validation from them. As you've realized, healing never came from them. It came from you. Your silence is no longer a tactic, it's a state of being. You're no longer fighting to be seen, heard, or loved in a way they were never capable of offering. You've chosen peace over chaos. You've chosen truth over false hope, and most importantly, you've chosen yourself instead of trying to save someone who never wanted to be saved. The narcissist can't control you anymore, can't pull you back in because you're no longer trapped in the need for resolution. You don't need closure because your silence is the closure, and that's what wounds them the most. Not your screaming, not your exposure, but the fact that you walked away in silence, carrying a peace they will never be able to reach. Silence isn't retreat, it's elevation. When an empath reaches the point where they no longer need to explain, no longer need an apology, no longer need anything from the narcissist, it's not coldness, it's freedom. Throughout this video, you've seen why silence breaks the narcissist. Not because they care, but because they can't control what they can't read. They can't manipulate someone who doesn't react. They can't keep playing the game when you've left the board. Your silence confuses them. It enrages them. It strips them of what they value most: control. But for you, silence is the beginning. It's the first step toward healing. It's the door that leads you back to yourself. You no longer need to prove that you're good enough. You no longer seek validation from someone who couldn't give it, because you've started giving that validation to yourself. If you're in that place, if you've chosen silence, if you've chosen to walk away without looking back, know this: you're not weak. You're quietly becoming powerful. You haven't lost anything. You're reclaiming everything. And if these words resonate with you, if you've ever loved the wrong person, been manipulated, or screamed into silence, let this video be your reminder. You no longer have to live inside someone else's chaos. You have the right to choose quiet and call it freedom. Don't forget to hit subscribe to stay connected to content that helps you awaken, heal, and take back your power. Share this video with someone who's gone quiet. Not because they're broken, but because they're finally coming home to themselves.